Coach, you can get us started, and then we'll open it up to questions here. And again, as a reminder, to state your name and affiliation, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Pedro Mendes. I'm the assistant coach at Northwestern. I'm here today representing our head coach, Shane Daves, and the program. So, yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for being here, and I'm open to talk through some of the things that we have to talk through today. Okay.
Robert McCoppin from the Chicago Tribune. I have to ask, could you respond please to the allegations of hazing in the program that Northwestern's own investigation concluded was hazing in the volleyball program, and how you respond to that and react to that, please?
Sure. So since I wasn't part of the 2022 coaching staff, I'm not able to get into that. I could definitely share with you whatever you want to know from the moment I joined the team in February of 2023. So that's all I can say about it.
Can you say going forward? Can you say going forward how you try to create a climate of being tough in practice without having hazing or abuse?
Absolutely. I don't think since I joined the team I have ever experienced or seen any type of situation where I would consider myself or the players around me as hazing. The way we coach, it's, at least again from my time here, it's been a lot about respect, and we try to keep the standards pretty high, but we're always trying to make sure that the athletes are feeling respected and heard. So that's how we do it, and we're going to keep doing the same way. I think they can speak more to it than I can. So that's pretty much what we're going to keep doing, what we already do at this point.
Mind if I jump in here? So I'd say one of our program values is actually relationships with one another. And from the time that I've been here, I can only say positive things about the coaching staff and feeling welcomed and supported by my teammates. So, yeah, relationships. We really love one another.
Hi, everybody. Pete, Big Ten Plus. More so for Alexa, you lost TTA, you lost Miller. You were always one of the leaders on and off the court. How has that changed now for you on and off the court to step into those shoes or to create your own sense of leadership for this team?
Yeah, great question. I think Megan and Temmie both were role models to me in their own ways. I think I look up to them both. I'm super excited to see Temmie again as our first conference opener match. I think in the spring we had 9 girls in our gym. So just adjusting to that, getting a lot closer with the girls that were on the team at that moment, and kind of just figuring out what my voice is in accordance with the coaches, not to be too much, but not to be too little. I think I've had plenty of conversations with them about being a player-led team and being able to step in and hold each other accountable. I think all of us girls talk about how much we love each other, and sometimes we do need to have those hard conversations about, hey, we're better than this, we can hold a higher standard, and just continue to push each other in the gym. I think it's been hard, but you find that perfect atmosphere that we have, and I think integrating 7 new girls into the gym has been super easy because we have that really nice foundation that we built over the off season.
Thank you. Matt Brown from Extra Points and D1 Ticker. This is a question here for Elle and Alexa. I understand here that many of us have not been in locker rooms or been a part of high achieving teams or at a high competitive level. And maybe for us, it might be a little bit harder to better understand what a healthy culture looks like, or where the line might be between trying to hold teammates to a higher standard and being tough, and then maybe where that line might be crossed. And I'm wondering if either of you could tell us a little bit about, from your playing experience, whether that's with Northwestern or any other teams, about what that line looks like, or how you're able to tell when you're part of a safe, high achieving but supportive culture. How you can tell from your perspective.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I have in relation to that is I think everyone has their own perceptions. I also think being held to a high standard as an athlete, player to player, coach to player, inside a program doesn't always have to be an aggressive thing. I think that starts with a relationship that is formed before, and me and Elle are best friends, have been for 3 years, but Elle knows that sometimes we have to talk volleyball or we have to have communication on the court, because without that we can't play our best for our teammates and we can't perform well as a team. So I think sometimes communication, to be held to a higher standard, may be perceived as something that has to be a hard conversation or aggressive, but I think when you are in a safe culture and relationship, it's easy to have those conversations because it isn't personal. You're just having a conversation to help each other perform at their best and be their best version.
Yeah. Matt, right? Thank you for the questions. Good one. I would say probably everybody in this room can relate to culture. The cool thing about sports is how it just carries over to all aspects of life, whether you're in the workplace, your family's at home, culture is everywhere. And having those conversations like Alexa is talking about, it doesn't have to be me yelling at her or her yelling at me. It's just like being completely honest with one another to tell her what my expectations for are, not because I want to be mean to you, it's because I love you and I want the best out of you. And holding everybody to those high standards only makes each other better and yourself in turn. So.
Just going to jump in real quick just because we have only a couple more minutes left with the Wildcats. Want to talk about on the court this coming season with what you guys have addressed and along with Shane Davis's statement as well.
I have a question for Pedro. Last year you were a volunteer coach. This year hired as a full-time assistant. What sort of impact does adding an extra full-time assistant coach have for Northwestern and just college volleyball as a whole?
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround, right? You go from volunteer to assistant, and then here you are, So things are going really fast, and I honestly feel like that is a really big thing for volleyball. Volleyball has been growing so much in the West. This is just my second season here. I was part of a big volleyball family back home in Brazil, and I've been playing the game, so I have a lot of love for the game. So I'm really grateful that this is happening, because I feel like 3 coaches are not enough to take care of a season. It's just a lot going on with recruiting, and then during the season there's a lot going on in the college level, and it's just important that we are adding that piece. So I feel like very, very grateful for that decision, and just hopefully we can kind of keep growing from there.
Michael Barthelemy from Northwestern News Network. So added 5 transfers, is it? And all at 5'10" or above. And this question's for all of you. How have you noticed them integrating into the team? And then has that added height to the roster made a noticeable difference?
Yeah, I can start with this one. I think when going through the transfer process, the recruiting process, I think we as players were very appreciative of how involved our coaches allowed us to be, and I think they were very careful with the choices they made and the recruiting that they did and the conversations they had, because they know we have such a good chemistry that they wanted to add girls that would only exemplify the same things. And so I think them as people, they are amazing. They've joined our program and helped out a lot. I think on the court, they have the same mentality we do. They want to compete. They know what it's like to be in the Big Ten or in a really big conference. And I think they come into the gym every day, even just in summer open gyms, and they want to go for it. They want to learn. They're open-minded. And I think they're ready to take on whatever challenge or role that comes their way, and that really excites us.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Thank you. I should also ask, where is Shane Davis today? Why isn't he with us?
Well, he's not. I'm sorry. Why he's not? He's not here. It was released a little earlier today. The reason why. So as a coaching staff, as a team, we decided that's best if I came. So that's what I'm here for. But we highly support, and that's why I'm here to answer questions regarding volleyball. If you can keep moving forward with those, I would appreciate.
I'm sorry, it was released earlier today?
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a previous statement release, and he talked about not being able to say as much because of the legal process.
Michael McCleary, the Wisconsin State Journal. Alexa, you mentioned Temi earlier. You obviously spent a lot of time assisting her. I mean, just having played with her, what type of player is Wisconsin getting in Temi?
Yeah, I think Temi is more on the quiet side, but I think Temmie is able to lead by action, and I think that's what makes Temmie such a powerful person. Temmie comes into the gym with a smile on her face every day, wants to get better, wants to learn from people, but also just wants to love on her teammates. And I think we all felt that from day one, and Temmie has been one of my close friends since then. And I've been able to lean on Temmie on the court when I'm not performing my best, but also know that she always has my back, even if I'm playing the best match of my life. So I think Wisconsin is extremely lucky to be getting a player like Temmie on the court, but also off the court as just being such a great and sweet human being. So I couldn't be happier for her.
So last year, you were right on the bubble, almost there. Injuries, again, Lexi, you had a tough one as well. How do you use that as motivation for this year to get over that hump, continue to receive those votes, and make the tournament this year?
Yeah, I think Pedro and I actually talked about this on the way down here, but like you said, trying to not like get stuck on the hump or be bitter about it, but actually learning from our experiences as a team and using that to fuel every session that we've been in the gym and holding each other to those standards of we want to get to the NCAA tournament. We want to make a run in that tournament, and that's the standard in the gym every single day and holding each other to that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. What I learned from this team, in this past few months is that they're very resilient and they wanted to grow from this. And I really believe that we have everything we need to succeed this season, and I'm really positive about the outcome. So right now we're taking the process in the best possible way, but of course the goal for all of us is to get our spot in the tournament.
All right, our time is going to be up with Northwestern unless there's a last-minute question that you promise will not take us over too far. We got to get things back on schedule. Anybody? Okay, I think we got
Thank you,
it.
everybody.
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Coach, if you want to start things off, and then we will open it up to questions here. And again, state your name and affiliation before.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you guys for being here and making this event so special. Year 2, the Big Ten Media Days, and what a hit it's been. I'm honored to be representing Michigan State alongside these outstanding and wonderful women who are continuing to drive our program forward, build on the foundation from last year, continuing to set our own standards and push us forward. So we're looking forward to answering your questions and sharing a little bit about us. I'll call on you.
Hi, John
Hi.
Krieger, Spartan Media Network.
Yeah, hi, John.
Hi. First thing, you're going into year 2 here, but it really almost feels like a year 1 because you came in late. It was a smaller gym. You didn't really have camps. How's it been going through kind of the standard volleyball off season and getting to implement some of those things in year 2?
Yeah, I appreciate your question, John. You're right. In year 1, we had 7 players, and of those 7, for year 2, the off season, I think we have 1, and that's Julia. And so we have a very different roster, and for a variety of reasons, mostly positive. And we've had an incredible off season of getting better. We've sped up our offense. The athletes, their mental, physical, and personal well-being, I believe, is much improved. And you can see that in the way they interact. You can see that in the way they interact with us, the way they challenge me so confidently, which I love and hate, but mostly love. So it is different because you create that dynamic of being able to push each other together versus trying to figure out what's next. And so it does feel like a fresh start in completely unified way.
How's it going, Coach?
Hi.
Pete Ferry, Big Ten Plus. One thing that was talked about with the prior school is culture. This is your second year with this culture, and for the players, also you have 2 new assistant coaches.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep a strong culture with turnover, not only of players, but with assistant coaches as well?
Yeah. I'll take that first, then I'll let them answer specific to the culture, though. But I think one thing we always have to remember in athletics is that it's likely the highest turnover industry there is. And so turnover isn't always a negative thing. Change can be positive. Change adds new ideas. It adds new energy, new excitement. I would imagine half of you in this room are fairly new in your roles. And so I think if we remember that, we can see change as something that's a catalyst for improvement. But culture should impact and kind of draw in any change you make. To me, that's the power of culture. So whoever is sitting in that seat should be able to feel our culture from day one. So I'll let them speak to that.
I just want to say, I don't think you can just keep a culture. I think you create it, and it's something that you have to work with the people around you. I have to work with my teammates to find that culture that fits best with us. And I love our culture. It's incredible. And I do think it is a little bit ever-changing. We are a family. That will always stay. But I don't know. I think it's not something that you just say, this is this, and that's it.
I will touch on some of the things that makes our culture unique. We talk about grow, serve, and honor in our gym every single day. And that is growing as a person on and off the court. That is serving one another, serving your support staff, because we have an amazing support staff that works day in and day out to make sure that we are healthy, that we are mentally and physically ready to play. But that's serving each other, serving everyone else in our program, and serving the university. And then honor, and that's one of the most important, at least I know me and Aliyah have talked about this several times, but honoring the people who came before us. Because at Michigan State, there is such a rich history, and we really take that to heart. Every time we put on the Spartan jersey, we make sure that everyone knows that we are proud and we are honored to wear that jersey.
How's it going, Coach? Daniel Gilman, 6 rotations. I'd love to just get a look inside the schedule making, because obviously last year was, as you mentioned, unique, and then you had that strong start, but it doesn't quite prepare you for conference play. Leading into this season, what was it like scheduling Arkansas and then finding the teams to build your home schedule?
Scheduling is a weird animal, frankly, because the teams you might want to play maybe don't want to play you just yet. And so there's a balance of scheduling tough to give ourselves an opportunity to prove ourselves. Like opening with Arkansas, I'm excited to get them first match of the year because I think we're a team that no one knows anything about. I like that. Even though we have returners, we've made so many changes and grown so much that, I think will be a bit of a surprise in that way. The other matches, I think we have a balance of competitive, but I also know that we had to schedule to be successful as well, with due respect to all of our opponents. But the Big Ten is such a challenging conference, and we want to make postseason. So much of that comes down to a final record, not just a Big Ten record. So there is a lot that goes into it. Frankly, I don't overthink it because I know the Big Ten is where we have to prove ourselves before it matters to anyone. And so, whoever shows up on the other side of the net, that's who we're going to play.
And then to follow up, how was the Kathy DeBoer Invitational created, and what exactly does that name mean to you and the sport?
Thank you for that question. That might be my favorite one so far. So Kathy DeBoer is a Hall of Famer from Michigan State. She served, and I'm going to get this wrong, but she served for many years as the president of the American Volleyball Coaches Association. She was a dual sport athlete, basketball and volleyball. We inducted her last year into the Hall of Fame. We unfortunately weren't able to be there because we were on the road. But she created change for women. She created an avenue. She paved a lane for all of us to walk down to continue to broaden it. And she said women's sports are relevant. Women's sports should be celebrated. Women athletes should be role models and modeled after. We do not need to reflect our counterpart in men. We need to become our own pioneer. And she was that. And so when she announced her retirement from the AVCA, that was the first thing. How do we honor this? And how do we honor it for the sport, not just for Michigan State? Because she was the sport as much as she was a Spartan. And so we tried to tie those two together by making sure her namesake always lives in the halls for our tournament. And every time she and her family or whomever can attend, we will do our best to honor her to the fullest, just like our values.
Lincoln Arneal, volleyballmag.com. Coach, can start with you. Last year you had 12 players that started a match, and that's not including Nailani. How much did that kind of rotating cast affect your consistency and ability to take a step forward?
Would you repeat the beginning, please?
You had 12 players start at least one match, and that's
Yes.
not including Neilani at libero. So 13 different players start a match. How did that kind of affect?
Yes. I do think that hinders your consistency. I don't think we have to have the same lineup every night to be great, because we have 18 players that are fully capable, that we intentionally recruited to be capable. Now, where they are in their development process, where they are in their maturity and their experience to take on the moment in the jersey under the lights, that varies from night to night. But you're right, I do think that affected our consistency. We had several matches that went the distance. We played as many points as possible and then some in multiple sets going extra points, 5-set matches. So we were on the cusp of breaking through. And I think the inconsistency held us back sometimes from that because of multiple lineups, not talent. And so now we need to steady out.
If the players, how do you deal with that, kind of the different players standing next to you on the court each night, and how do you adjust to those kind of situations?
I think one thing our team does a really good job at is competing with love. That means no matter who is on the court or who played that weekend before, we go into every practice knowing that you're going to compete with love because you want the person next to you to succeed as much as you do. But I think on the court, obviously, we play with each other enough during practices to know how each other play during the games. So I think there isn't too much from our standpoint that affects the way you play next to someone because you already are used to it. But I say we compete with love 100% of the time.
I agree with that. I think your job stays the same no matter where you are, on the court or off the court. Our bench, we're constantly looking for ways to help the people on the court, and we practice that in practice. So I don't think it really hinders us or changes how we see things or how we compete.
Last one for me. Coach, how's it been integrating a new recruiting ace, Rosalind, into the situation?
With Roz?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Rosalind is, she was the best surprise I've ever had, right? She snuck in there to be baby 3, and now she's my best recruiting tool. She is crushing it in the visits. She only smiles. I think the kids only cried 3 times. I'm really lucky. But yes, she is their favorite. I am now, I think, 4th in the pecking order of favorites in the coaching ranks, and or 5th probably, and out recruiting. Like, she is loving it. Thank you so much for that generous question.
Go ahead. I got a couple questions on Zoom, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Matt Brown from Extra Points and D1 Ticker. I'm glad that was brought up because I was just thinking, Coach, the last time we saw you at this media day, we were hearing all about Noodle. And you know, that kind of became the lead. I'm curious here because your story of expanding your family while you're coaching at a high level is pretty uncommon. And I'm wondering if over the past several months, what the reaction was like among your peers in this industry about very publicly going through this process, maybe in a way that that other people haven't had the opportunity to do. Yeah.
So it's been the spectrum. Okay, I've had, and I'm gonna be honest because that's the only thing I know how to do here, but I've had from internally unfazed. I mean, my administration barely blinked other than being excited. Like, it did not even change the tone, which was such a relief for me because I'd been on the job for 3 months when I'm like, so this is happening. But they were as normal as could be and only there to help. So that was great. Then on the flip side, I had younger women come up and ask questions, like, oh my gosh, how are you doing it? Like, is it possible? I had women thinking about getting out of the profession call me to ask if what changed my mind or what got me through it, because there are days when you don't sleep and I'm pumping in between meetings, right? That's the life of being a mother. That's not a surprise, it's not a secret, it's reality. But that's how I have to thrive, is by normalizing the things that are normal for 50% of the people, should they choose, in this space. And then I've had the other side, where I'm a little surprised that happened. Yeah, and you feel like that shouldn't be the case, but it is. And that's why I stand next to them every day and make sure there's a space for them to speak, to be heard, to show up as their true selves. Because don't question me. I can do both, and I will. But I have been questioned by my peers. But I continue to show up, And success is not defined by the outcome on the court. It's defined by these young women and the way they lead their life because of the example I'm able to show, or the way they empower me to stay true to myself, that I don't have to change just for them because they want me to be my best too, just like I want them to be their best.
I want to add to that from our point of view. I just want to say we've learned so much about pregnancy, about children in general, which is kind of terrible that we didn't know a lot of the things that we learned. Like, we were constantly asking Coach questions throughout the whole journey. Month by month, as Roz grew, we just learned so much. And it was constantly all of us like, Coach, what happens if this? What happens this? What happens this? And it's kind of sad that we aren't educated on that. So I kind of want to ask educators to kind of step it up, because why don't I know these things about my own body, you know? So thank you, Coach, for teaching us.
Thank you. Thanks for asking, and I love that they felt comfortable enough to do that. I mean, we had some weird conversations. We won't repeat them all for your sake, but it was awesome. It was awesome.
Might be interesting for some people to know. I have a couple questions from Zoom. First is for Aliyah about making the adjustment to the Big Ten, what that was like, what you've worked on this off season, and what you learned from year one going into year two.
Honestly, it is difficult in the Big Ten. It's a competitive atmosphere. Every single team is going to be a challenge. But I wouldn't say too much changed. I have the same goal. I need to score points. I need to do my job. I think as a hitter, you are constantly looking at the same things. You need to find your defense's weakness, strengths, and you need to know how to score. So I learned a lot more about myself than competition-wise. I learned how to handle school and volleyball at the highest level. I learned what it means to take care of my own mental health with the support of Dr. Molly, which is our sports psychologist. I will say it's fun. It's challenging, and it's fun because it's challenging.
For Coach, another question from Zoom about the transition you're making or adjustment. Now I'm trying to play at a quicker pace and really being able to put your stamp on things going into year two.
Yeah, so we did speed up the offense a bit. Julia is a big reason for that because she can play the game so fast. You know, you want to use your pieces to their strengths, and she's a risk taker by heart. That is where she shines, and so I needed to put her in a position to be able to take more risks or feel like she's on the attack versus the defense as an offensive component. And so we did speed that up a bit more. I think it's made for defending our offense more challenging. We feel good about our ability to serve and pass, to stay competitive. It won't be perfect all the time. That's not the game of volleyball, but it'll be competitive. And so we felt comfortable pushing the envelope a little bit with the speed. And now you have someone like Aliyah who already has the power, having more time to see the game and create opportunities through those splits because Julia is able to put her in better positions. I think that speed creates space for all of our attackers differently.
Coach, there's other first-year head coaches right now in this conference.
Mm-hmm.
What is something, maybe advice to them or something you wish you would have known coming into this conference that maybe could help them transition or be ready for what this particular conference brings from a coaching standpoint?
Do I share all my secrets? There's no secret. I mean, that is the joke, right? Frankly, I think year two is the hardest year there is. Year one, you don't really have expectations. You just have opportunity because everything's a first, right? So why are you worried? You try it, you learn about it, you readjust, then you go. Well, year two, you guys already, everyone's asking, okay, what's going to happen now? Now you have your team, which is all fair questions. But it changed the expectation, right? And so your job as a coach is to make sure that you don't live in a state of expectations, you live in a state of process. So we're focused on what we do every day, how we go about our business with one another, the way we treat each other, the way we interact, that our language is our culture, the way we speak about our mission. So, I think year one's pretty darn fun. So I'd say have fun, have a baby if you want. But I think year two is actually more challenging for head coaches at any new job because of those unspoken expectations that are there, whether you want them or not.
Any other questions in here? Yeah. Trying to keep us on time, but.
Oh, we got time, guys. We got time.
John Krieger, Spartan Media Network again. One of the things I haven't heard discussed here yet is the fact that you have 5 international players on the roster. I know there was some growing pains just integrating your 2 Turkish players last year. Now you have more. What steps do you take to help them integrate into the American game and American culture?
Yeah. Well, one, they come in the summer, but Taylor Hold'em, our young lady from New Zealand, was able to come in December. So she arrived here December, January, and spent the entire spring with us. So that's one thing we're going to try to start doing more with international student athletes and any new freshmen. But the biggest thing they do is spend time with them. I have to stay out of the way and let the captains be in charge. And we didn't quite have that luxury last year because when they arrived and the culture, right, we were only 3 months together. So now they know what to expect. And so Julia, Nalani, Aliyah, they've all done a tremendous job implementing and acclimating our international athletes to our game. The other thing we're doing is chess. So we implemented a chess program, and this is giving us a common language to start from that is competitive. And it is creating relationships. When you sit across the table from someone and you have to compete and you have to communicate about something that's completely unique to both of you, or different or foreign, now you're in a situation where you're learning how to get on the same page and you're learning how to share the same language. And so we're transferring chess to volleyball. And it's been a really, really cool experience.
We gotta let them go.
No, I got one more.
You go, sure? Okay, all right, go ahead.
Erin Sorensen, Hail Varsity. My husband will not let me get out of here if I don't ask you, who's the best? He loves chess. So who is the best chess player so far?
It's safe to assume me. I was in the chess club for 6 years of my life, so that's a little brag.
Totally punked us, you guys. She's like, oh, no, I don't know. And then she's like, I was chess captain of the club for 6 years. Are you kidding me, Julia?
They were teaching us how to play, and I was like, is this how you move it? And then finally when we started playing, I was like, checkmate.
Thank you, everyone. Go green.
Go white.
Okay, Dave Shondell, head volleyball coach at Purdue, and we're really excited, obviously, to be here. We will never lose appreciation for what the Big Ten Conference has done for the sport of volleyball and the Big Ten Network to provide this opportunity for our athletes to communicate about what it's like to play volleyball in this league. So we're excited about this opportunity. We're going to have a really fun team, a really competitive group of athletes, young. I think of our 17 players, 12 are freshmen or sophomores, and we have a couple of fifth-year players that we're going to lean on heavily. But overall, it's a very young team that competes really hard, and we think we have a high ceiling. Thank you.
Maddie D'Addario, News 18. I'll kind of start across the board here. What are some things that you guys have been honing in on this offseason as a team and then individually? And then Maddie, I'll add a piggyback question. What made you come back for another year?
Is that first question for me? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, off-season is 2 different things. You know, during the school year, we're allowed to be with our athletes for a non-traditional season, and we felt like we made great progress putting in a system that we thought was going to be effective with the personnel we had. And we feel like our pin attackers are really strong. We feel like we can put 2 left side hitters on the floor that will match up with anybody in the league, even though they're just going to be a freshman and a sophomore, but they're pretty special. We have 1 experienced middle back, and then we're going to find a really good athlete to put in there with Ravens, that experienced player who's also a great competitor. And we'll have to figure out who's going to play in the opposite position. Our biggest issue is who's going to set, because 2 weeks to go in our non-traditional season, we lost our 5th-year setter to a knee injury. And that was really devastating because she had worked so hard and it was playing at such a high level. And that's why we scheduled the way we did, non-conference-wise, was we put a monster schedule together. And now we're going to have to really develop a setter, spend a lot of time early and getting that cohesiveness together to make that happen. But In the off season now, in the summertime, it's been pretty much up to these athletes to get in that gym and make things happen. And I feel like they've got great leadership.
I would say during the summer, most of our what we hit on the most is acclimating the new freshmen. I mean, we have 6 really good players coming in, and just getting them comfortable for the upcoming season is a big priority because we are so young, and that's really what is going to make the difference on who's ready to play and who's going to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I would go off of that. We just really focus on, it's like Dave says, a player-led team. So I think just having that in the back of our mind, how are we able to better ourselves, not only on the court, but off the court is really important, especially over the summer. So going off of that piggyback question, one of the reasons I came back kind of ties to that. Just the girls, the culture that Dave, Kat, and John have all built has been incredible. And not only is it great there, our fan base, it just feels like home, and it's something that I've always dreamt of a little girl, and if I had the opportunity to come back, I thought, why not take it? So, yeah.
Bree Shackelford, WLFI TV in West Lafayette, Indiana. Quick question for you, head coach. You have the 3rd best recruiting class with you right now inside the nation. Why was it so important to get those girls on your team, and which players are going to make the biggest splash this year?
Yeah, your recruiting classes normally go along with how many scholarships that you have. And we had 4 scholarship seniors graduate, plus some other players that were 5th-year students. So we had a lot of people leave. So we had to bring in some people that were capable of playing in year number 1. And so we were fortunate that we landed some. And we feel really good about probably 3 or 4 that will be ready to play this year. We might redshirt a couple of those because we don't need 17 players to be available. But we have 17 on our roster, but we'll work with them. And was there more to that question? Okay, but obviously with Chloe Chacoin, who's right out of our hometown, Chloe Chacoin is a difference maker. And I think even these 2 right here would recognize when she came into our gym, our culture improved, just like it did when these guys came in the gym. But she's a workhorse, and she's got a cannon of an arm, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off people like Eva Hudson and Raven Colvin to have another player out there that can create her own points for us. So she's nice to have.
Daniel Gilman here, 6 rotations. This one's for Eva. Of all the things you could have thought about in terms of your second off season or your first full as a student off season, what was 1 or 2 that really surprised you here leading into this past summer?
Well, I'm taking a lot harder classes this summer. Definitely freshman year, I kind of had blow-off classes, and that's a big part of the busy schedule. But I would just say the leadership now. I'm getting used to that role now that I'm a year older and becoming more vocal, because I feel like last year it was more action-driven. So just working on my voice has definitely been a difficult but good challenge for this summer.
Craig Combs from the Purdue Big Ten Student U, this for Coach Dave. Lots of success at Purdue. You've had gold medalists come through Purdue. The 2 athletes sitting on the stage, Chloe Chacoin, you've had lots of great talent. How does Purdue take that next step? Big Ten championship, national championship. How does Purdue take that next step with, what you've done so far and the athletes that you've, brought into the school?
One step at a time, I guess. We're young, and I don't want to, I'm excited about this team, and our fans are super excited about the players we have. But we're young this year, and that doesn't mean we're not going to be really, really good. But you just do things the best you can every year. And, being excited as a head coach helps, and I'm always excited with the start of a new season. But we have some special characters. It's one thing to have 6'4" players that can touch 10'7". That's great. But do they compete? Do they play well together? Are they committed all the time? And right now, of course, we haven't played anybody yet. We haven't lost anybody yet, so everything's going pretty smooth. But at some point in time, they're going to meet that adversity. And in our league, this is an incredible year for Big Ten volleyball. I think there's 15 all Big Ten first-teamers coming back not necessarily at the same schools, but they're coming back. And almost everybody off the second team, it's going to be as good of a league as I think it's ever been. I know that's a big statement, but I think that is. So to say, well, how do you get to be where you're going to be better than Nebraska and Wisconsin and Minnesota and Penn State and the people that are ranked ahead of you, you do the best you can every time you go into the gym. And you know your players are going to do that. And they have to have a purpose. There has to be true purpose in what you do every time you come into the gym, and that's what we work towards. And with these kind of people here, I think that there's a good chance that we're going to have a great year.
Matt Foster, KETV Omaha. Coach, for you, back to that recruiting class, want to specifically ask you about Grace Heaney, obviously from Omaha. What did you see from her out of high school, and what kind of player do you think she can become for your program down the line?
Yeah, the most impressive thing I saw from Grace was she was a terrific three-sport athlete. She played volleyball on teams that played for a state championship, at least the last couple of seasons. Her basketball teams were playing for state championships, and then I think they broke the school record in the 400-meter relay. Okay, maybe the 1,600-meter relay. She ran the 400. So anybody that runs the 400 meters is a pretty tough kid. And so there's just a lot of things I liked about her athletically. She's long. She's left-handed. She's the first lefty we've had since Annie Drews, and that worked out pretty well. So we want to make sure we've got that option. She needs to get stronger. She's long. I think she's about 6'2", 6'2.5", but she's long. She plays longer than that. So, and she comes from a great family, and she's going to work hard. She loves being at Purdue. She loves what she's doing right now, and I like somebody that walks in the gym with a look on her face. Thank you.
Bree Shackelford again from TV18 in West Lafayette. So tough schedule ahead for you guys. Like, it's your toughest schedule in 20 years. Kind of a question for all of you. Why put together a schedule like this? And how do you feel about your upcoming matches ahead, facing one ranked opponent per week?
Well, I'll speak to part of that because they didn't put the schedule together. And we, as I mentioned, we put that together when we knew we had we thought we had Meg Renner, who was a very experienced setter in our program. But RPI is a huge part of scheduling, and anybody that's been covering volleyball knows that that's pretty much the formula that is used 95% to determine who makes the tournament and who gets seeded and who gets to host. So even if we drop some of those we don't want to drop in those matches, I don't think it's going to destroy our RPI. We'll go into every match thinking we got a chance to win, a good chance to win. But we're going to lose some. I don't think anybody's going to go undefeated in our league this year. You're going to lose some matches. But the reason we put that together was I have a lot of confidence in our players. You don't schedule that schedule if you don't feel good about who you are as a team. And I think that we'll develop a setter that will be able to come along and make these guys look pretty good. What do you guys think?
I think having a schedule like this is just setting up for the opponents that we're going to face in the Big Ten. Every game, no matter who it is, it could be the best of the best in the league. You just never know what to expect, and I think that's what's so exciting about it. But the non-conference, I think, is well said by Dave. I think it sets us up for success, but it also challenges us to the point where we got to show up to play every game. And I think that's what makes it more exciting leading up to it, is knowing you're going to have the best of the best each game from each team, each school, no matter what place we're at. I know we go to Kansas. That's an environment I've always wanted to see. So that's just really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. No, please. Oh, okay. Thank you. I would say it's very, very exciting, especially since, again, we're a very young team. It gives us a chance to see what we're not good at, and that's really important before conference because we can really practice on those little things and really get ready for season.
Lincoln Arneal, volleyballmag.com. Eva, have you talked to Chloe about what expectations are coming in as a highly touted recruit and kind of the success you had last year? How can you relate that to her and help prepare her for the road ahead?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we've had multiple meetings, but it's just exciting during the summer to see her struggle, which sounds very terrible, but especially as a freshman, you know, you're coming in, and I kind of started on a hot streak, and then all of a sudden it's not so hot anymore, and you're getting every set, and you're trying to get out of that. And it's just good and exciting to be able to teach her that before she has to actually endure that in a game and get her ready for that, because I wouldn't necessarily think anyone told me that before, and I had to figure it out on myself or by myself. So just being able to share that wisdom with her is actually very gratifying.
Dave, you've had one of the more stable assistant coaches. I mean, I think both John and Kathy have been you for 19 years. To add a third coach, what is the significance of that, not only for the program, but for the sport of volleyball?
Well, it's not a huge difference per se, because we've had a volunteer coach. The difference is you have a volunteer coach for about 1 year and they're gone. They find a real paying job. This time we have a young man named Michael Burrell, who's a genius in analytics and is also a volleyball coach. So he brings two incredible facets to our program, and we'll lean on him a lot. And he's young. Obviously, if John and Kat have been with me for 20 plus years, they're not considered young anymore. And so it's nice to have some young people in your program that can bring a little more energy, a little bit different look. And Michael is not afraid to tell people what he thinks or how we should go about doing things. So I think that's great to have that guy that has an actual job, not a volunteer coach or not the analytics guy, but he's on the staff now. So I'm really happy that we got that coach. I think it will benefit a lot of programs. And before I get out of here, and I'm not sure how close we are, but this is just phenomenal to see all you people here. You know, as I said last year, I've been part of this volleyball thing for a long time, and for us to get to this point where we can walk into a media room like this and see this many people from across the country, and Nebraska's led the way, okay? And you have led the way. And it's neat to have that. I wish everybody in the Big Ten had a guy like you that was promoting and supporting. Not that's that you're promoting it, but it sure looks like it to me. And but it's great what you do. It's great what you do. I'm being serious, and we're happy that you know we get to be part of this.
Michael McCleary, the Wisconsin State Journal, right here. Dave, there's been quite a few new head coaches around the Big Ten over the last couple of years to debut. You know, what sort of changes have you noticed to the league just with this influx of new coaches?
Still a lot of good teams, and a lot of good talent. And I think when you get new coaches, there's an infusion of energy and new ideas and more social media presence than what you've seen before from those particular programs. And so it's not like, you know, you lose a veteran coach and things are going to get easier because someone else comes in. Those new coaches are very qualified. Everybody wants to coach in this league. There's reasons why our league is the best in the country. We have the best coaches. And so you know it's going to be a challenge. The changes that I see as a volleyball coach have nothing to do with new coaches in the Big Ten. It's with the other things that are going on right now that are making the job more and more challenging. I was just talking to some people today. The COVID ruling that was put into play that allows these fifth-year athletes like Maddie to play. We love them to play. We know that they add so much to our program, but it certainly adds a little bit of tension to your program, because there are always people that are thinking, wait a minute, that was going to be my spot, and now you have to convince them what can be your spot, just be better than she is. But it's not that easy, and all coaches in all sports have been dealing with that now for a long time, and it's draining on both the players and the coaching staffs. And then you have the portal and all those kind of things. But it's just all part of it. And so coaching has changed dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years.
All right, Maddie D'Addario again. Eva, I have a question for you. You had a huge freshman season. I don't think I need to go through all the accolades. You know them. But a lot of the times when you start out that strong, it can be very easy to get complacent. So what have you been doing on the court and mentally to make sure that you're not going to stay complacent at the same place you were last season?
I mean, every day you just got to give it your all. Especially in the beginning. I mean, I was kind of surprised I started out that hot, but I think it just goes back to the repetitive training that you do every single day, and you have to come in loving the game, because if you don't love the game, then it's going to get tiring and it's going to get draining. And that's one thing I'm very proud of. I've kept that love for the game, and I want to come in all the time. And I think that's just what's going to continue to build our team and my teammates, especially this one right here, love to get in the gym, and I think that's what's really special about this team.
I was going to coach Pete for a Big Ten Plus. Talked about the non-conference a lot, but again, it's not just tough non-conference opponents. You're Big East champions, you're A-10 champions, and you're trying to develop a new setter. Has the approach then changed with how this non-conference is going to look? Because a lot of times in non-conference you hear, okay, well, we're going to try to find our best pieces before conference play starts, but because it's so important to the RPI, has that sped up the process of how you may be approaching this season?
Yes. We have to get into a lot of team play earlier than what we may have in the past. I mean, the college level, you get into it pretty quick. I mean, you're on day one, you're probably doing some kind of team practice where you're playing 6-on-6 is what I'm talking about. And I think this year there'll be more of that early because those setters have to get comfortable with the tempo and their hitters and running the show and all those kinds of things. So yes, that's something that our staff has already talked about, that we need to move quicker. We don't want to eliminate some of that time. Obviously, before school starts, you can be in the gym as long as you want. But there's a limit to how that becomes effective after a certain point. But there'll probably be a higher percentage of team play going on in our gym than there has been in the past several years. Yeah.
Craig Combs from the Purdue Big Ten Student U. This is for Maddie and Eva. Easy question, but a fun question. NIL is a big deal right now in college athletics. But there is no NIL without you guys, without the athletes. So for both of you, if you could pick any company that you'd want to sponsor you and want you on their product, what would it be?
You want to go first? If you have an idea, you go, because I'm stuck. Gosh, for me, this sounds so basic. Probably Lululemon, just because, honestly, just because it has very good activewear and I love wearing clothes like that. Or like a Nike or something that I'm able to like wear every day. And Purdue is obviously a Nike school, so even them, I think that would be absolutely amazing. So
I would fully agree with that. Or Chick-fil-A. I really like food, so I mean, yeah, Lululemon's really good. They're very trendy right now too. Yeah.
Thank you. Matt Brown from D1 Ticker. This is for piggybacking off of that. I know we laugh at the idea of maybe a particular those brands, but have you, either of you or your teammates, been getting specific information about how you would go about trying to make that a reality? Have you either of you had experience pitching anybody or going out to look for any of these deals, or has that been more of a passive thing so far?
I think we've been educated really well at Purdue regarding NIL. We had someone that just left recently, Jack Gallagher, who really helped me and Eva out specifically. Always just trying to, I guess they're just open for questions, open to give us that information that we need, because I thought NIL was like pretty self-explanatory. It's not. And I think that he was there to give us those questions, and maybe even for him to reach out to a few brands or be like, hey, maybe get this app. This will help you with your exposure here. It's just having that guidance, and I know Purdue Athletics has really taken a huge step in that, and it's starting to become really cool, and I think I feel more comfortable reaching out to those brands, and if they say no, they say no. That's when you just move on to the next one. So I'd say we're educated really well.
Any other questions in here? Okay.
Lincoln Rail again. Dave, what is Lauren's status? I know she hurt her knee when she was wrapping up in Denver. Is she going to be ready to go when fall camp starts, and how does that kind of affect the development and setter?
Yeah, she's been released to play. I can't, again, be in the gym. We're not basketball or football, so we can't be in the gym during the summer, with the athletes. We did get a waiver for her that allows us to toss some balls to her. It's more of a medical recovery rehab type thing. And I wore her out one day doing that. But I think she's going to be fine physically. She's a bulldog. I mean, her sister is Jordan Poulter that plays on the Olympic team, and she was as tough as they can come, and she's not far from that. Okay, I don't know her well enough to say she's as tough or tougher, but the mentality she has fits in really well with the team we have right now, where they want to win. and they're not going to be happy if they don't win. And whatever it takes, that's what they're going to do. So we'll have to monitor her situation because we can't treat her like she wasn't hurt. We're going to have to keep a close eye on the swelling and not give her a ton of reps. But with 2 other setters, they'll need some of that experience as well. Yeah.
All right, my last question from me. What do those summer workouts look like with you guys running the team? Who's the most vocal? Do you guys kind of plan what you're going to do together? How do those things go down?
It's pretty, I guess, it's challenging, at least for me coming back as a 5th year. I know that I have to take a lot of those responsibilities. So I would say for me, my role is to lead by example and just kind of set the tone for the practice, whereas Eva's is probably more of that actual vocal leaderness on the floor. For us, we kind of just discuss what we need to work on. Maybe it's like the beginning's a little bit more skill work, and then we just want to play. Just like you talked about earlier, we tried to play a lot this summer. That's been different from past summers, and it was the most competitive summer I have been a part of because you're on your own. You have leaders that may just want to play like scrimmage, like queens or something the whole time, and it's just, that's not what you're going to do to set yourself up for success. And I think this past summer we did a really good job of picking out our weaknesses and trying to exploit them before we reach preseason with Dave, Kat, and John, so that we were able to just level up from there.
Yeah, I would say during the summers, especially since it's optional, you get to see who wants to be there, and especially since there's no coaches, you get to see like the true work ethic of people, and it's really exciting for this team because I think most everyone is on the same page this year, and that's really exciting going forward.
Also, sorry, going off of that, she talked about work ethic, and I think that's something our team has extremely well this year. We had some of these freshmen, for example, Chloe Chicoine, one of the hardest working people that me and Eva have ever met. She's the one that's always wanting to go in, and I think that's carried on to our culture as well. So I think this past summer we had more people in the gym on their own than we've ever had, and I think that's not only saying a lot about you when the coaches aren't around, but how will that exploit into the school year. So that's pretty special.
All right, Boilermakers, we have to say goodbye. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
First of all, did you guys want to start, Lexi or Merrit?
What?
Do you guys want to start, or you want me to?
Oh, you got it.
Okay.
All you.
Big Ten, stepping it up. This is awesome to have this. It's exciting to be here. Makes you feel special to be a volleyball coach and a part of this conference. I got to meet the new commissioner. Anyway, just thank you to the Big Ten for having all this and how we're treated here. You feel like rock stars, and I think these athletes deserve it, and it's been a long time coming, but this is really, really cool.
We'll get started with questions in the room. Over here.
Craig Combs from the Purdue Big Ten Student U. I'm going to ask the only question that really matters. How does it feel getting to play in front of 80,000 people this fall? Like how do you feel about that? How do you think it's going to feel to walk out? 90? 100. Put them on the roof. How do you guys feel about that, both you coach and the players?
Well, I'm not playing, so but a couple weeks ago, I wanted to get a feel of what it's going to feel like. So I went to Folsom Field, Dead and Company. You ever heard of them? Some of the older guys would know them. I went to their concert, and the stadium's completely sold out. The field's sold out, so you can't even move. And I just remember when they start at 6:30 at night. Most concerts start late, and they start at 6:30. So I wanted, because we're starting at 7. So I just thought this would be perfect, and just to get the feeling. And my adrenaline and goosebumps were going through the roof, and I'm just thinking trying to take what it's going to be like playing a volleyball match in Memorial Stadium where they're actually cheering for our team. And it's really hard to imagine for a volleyball match. So we're going to have to do some breathing exercises before we go out.
Yeah, you're making me nervous, Coach. I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity and experience, and I'm so honored that I'm still in college to be a part of it, because Like, it's going to be something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And I just think I've said it earlier, but for women's sports, not just volleyball, but just women's sports in general, I think this is a huge, like, monument for where we need to go in the right direction. And I'm just, again, super excited to be a part of it. It's going to be nerve-wracking, but I think if Husker Nation's amazing, and they are going to give us the biggest warm welcome ever. So it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I think they both touched on kind of all of the emotions. It's a really hard thing to grasp that many people are going to be there watching us, but at the end of the day, we're very grateful that Husker Nation is as strong as it is and that we even have the ability to play in the football stadium. I think that's really cool, and like Lexi said, it's huge for volleyball, but women's sports in general, so for us to be a part of it is really special, and it'll be history in the making, and for us to be a part of it and to be able to play in it is really cool. Not many people get to say that they did, so.
Pete Ferry, Big Ten Plus. This question's for Lexi. Lexi, you've done such an outstanding job navigating the NIL landscape. There's not a place you can't turn where somebody can't find a t-shirt of you or you're promoting something. How have you been able to navigate that so successfully, and what advice can you give to some of your teammates that are coming in and maybe want to experience the same sort of success you've had on and off the court?
Yeah, so Nebraska has a lot of support staff that have kind of helped all of us navigate through it, and they have like programs that can help you kind of figure out how to like time management and just like deal with all of that. And I have a great support staff that helps me also, but I think just for our newcomers, like, it's great opportunities. You get to brand yourself, and it helps like brand our team also as well. Like, we're trying to still continue these sellouts and like still have Husker Nation following us around the world. And I think that NIL is allowing us to even like build connections and build relationships with some of those people who have always supported us. So I think it's a really cool opportunity. And I think if younger girls who are coming into college want to jump on that opportunity, I think it's great. And when you see a little girl with your name on her shirt, like, it's a really great feeling. So yeah.
Michael McCleary, the Wisconsin State Journal. John, obviously, as far as attendance record goes, you've kind of been going back and forth with Wisconsin over the past couple seasons. Back, a little over 20 years ago when you left the school, could you have imagined that you'd be fighting for records of this magnitude and, these types of records to begin with?
Well, not of this magnitude, but I remember I don't remember what year it was, maybe 94, 95. We were playing Penn State. They were number one, undefeated at the time. And I told our administration, like, guys, we're going to pack the field house. And they had 2 people taking tickets. And, of course, we actually beat Penn State. Great match. I think there was 8,000 in there. But a lot of people were disappointed because they didn't want to wait in line that long or got turned away. So that was the first glimpse of you create something really big and special, people will come and see it. And I think the competition between Nebraska and Wisconsin and whoever else wants to try to hold these attendance records, this is great for volleyball. It's what makes the world go around, and people love that, and that's why they tune into ESPN and Big Ten and all, follow sports. And we're trying to take it so we can keep it, and we don't have to go back and forth with anybody.
If they do beat it, though, where's the next biggest venue?
Well, I don't think Camp Randall's going to seat 90,000, so I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to be on a world record here. So, and again, I didn't think any of this was going to happen. I was thinking if we could get 20,000, we'd be happy. And President Carter and our AD, Trev Alberts, they believed we would sell out Memorial Stadium because it's been sold out in every event there since the 60s. I don't remember exact year, but it's been sold out. And like President Carter said, we sold out every time since whatever year in 1960s, and we're going to sell it out for this, and he was right.
Erin Sorensen with Hail Varsity. This is for all 3 of you, but we can start with Coach. In addition, we're talking a lot about Volleyball Day at Nebraska, but when we're talking about growing the sport, not only just in the Big Ten but beyond, Fox and BTN announced a whole slew of game coverage today, which is going to include the first time ever that women's volleyball will proceed and follow NFL games on television. Can you just speak to what it means to the sport? We've talked a lot in the past about if they see it, they will become fans, they will follow it, they will support it, but having that exposure where people will now see Big Ten volleyball following their NFL games.
Yeah, I just was up in the Big Ten studio, and Rick made an interesting comment to me. He said he thinks volleyball is the most fun spectator sport to watch now because it's so fast, it's happening so fast, the games go by, and there's always action, and you got these great athletes playing a very highly skilled game, and I think he's right. And you just see the ratings keep going, and the talent level gets better and better. There's so many great teams all across the country now, and people are into it. And I see it at the younger ages at the club tournaments. I mean, I was just in Chicago last month. I mean, there's 104 courts going on in the convention center. 104 courts going. 8 to 2 wave and a 2 to 9 o'clock at night wave. I mean, just think how many kids are playing. And so volleyball is booming now, and it's going to be interesting because I know we're going to play Sunday night at 6:30 a couple Sundays, and that's going to be interesting, but it could be a really cool TV time.
Matt Foster, KETV Omaha. John, this one for you. Nebraska picked to finish second in the preseason poll. Over the years that you've been here, how much harder has it gotten to win this conference?
Well, Bobby Knight said it way back. Winning the Big Ten is harder than winning a national championship, and I've said that many times as well. It's 10 weeks against great competition, home and away. Now that the conference is getting bigger, you used to play everybody, but now you don't play everybody twice. It's a great accomplishment to win the Big Ten, and it's really, really hard to do. And hats off to Wisconsin. They've won it the last 3 years. They've done a tremendous job, and everybody's chasing them right now.
Matt Brown from Extra Points. I'd really love to hear from Merrit and Lexi here. It's wonderful that we're all together talking about the ascendancy of women's volleyball, whether that's being games on linear television or, if I'm hearing this right, maybe playing a game in front of 11 gajillion people later this year. But so we're also in an era of very significant change in college athletics, and there's court cases that could potentially rule on the employment status of athletes and potentially organization movements elsewhere. Typically, those conversations are always from the perspective of football or basketball players. And I'm curious, given how high profile your program is, if there have been any conversations among the players at Nebraska about how some of those court cases or changing nature of the sport might impact volleyball, and what kind of perspective you would want athletes like you to have.
I don't think there's been any sort of conversation about that with us. Obviously, NIL was a huge addition for all student athletes, but females in Nebraska volleyball, specifically with the fan base that we have, it's a huge addition for us. And so I think right now, the biggest things for us are just kind of getting volleyball out there, like we've been talking about, the advancements that volleyball, but also women's sports has been made. I think it's obviously, we're taking very big steps forward right now, and I think we're just trying to continue on that path, but there's not been any conversations like that amongst our team, so.
Thank you.
Hi guys, Lauren Michelson, KLKN TV in Lincoln. For Merrit and Lexi, having 5 freshmen on your roster and being the leaders as just juniors, how special is that, and how have the younger girls brought competition and energy to your team?
Yeah, I think these 5 freshmen are key pieces to our team, and just the competitiveness in them is just something so special that I think is very just with kind of our leadership and with how close our team is, they're gonna fit in just great.
Yeah, it's an honor for sure to be chosen to be a leader of this team, and I think, like Lexi said, all 5 of them are going to play a very pivotal role in our team, and they bring a lot of energy, they bring a lot of competition, and they add a lot to our team, so that's really cool. But our entire team as a whole is a really fun group of girls to lead. We all bring tons of experiences, tons of knowledge, and things of that sort. So it could have been anyone picked as captains, from the freshmen to the juniors. It could have been anyone, and I don't think any of us would have been surprised, just because our entire team is full of natural leaders. So it just makes it even more special for us to be the leaders, but also it makes it more fun for our entire team to be able to help and, you know, provide input and things of that sort. But it's definitely an honor, and being able to be there for them is going to be really cool this spring and fall.
Abby Barmer from Husker Online. This is for all 3 of you. How important was it for you to be able to go to Brazil on an international trip, spend 16 days together, and play together, especially with 6 newcomers?
Just go ahead.
I think it was extremely important, especially like we've discussed a lot today. Just we have 5 freshmen, we have Merrit included, 6 new people on this team. It's a very young and new team, and so I think going on this trip, it was a long 17 days, but I think it got everyone kind of acclimated to what this season's going to be like, and what our team's going to be like, and how we're going to play through hard matches and everything like that. We got a lot of experiences over there in Brazil, and I think it was all beneficial for us, and ultimately it brought our chemistry a lot closer together. So I think it was really important and a great opportunity for especially this team.
It was very important for us, and it's going to benefit us a lot this fall. I think playing a team sport, it's really about how you can fit all the pieces of the puzzle together, and I know that those 17 days helped us a ton, not only growing on the court, figuring out how people play together, things of that sort, what Lexi needs when she's maybe struggling a little bit, and vice versa, things of that sort. So on the court, obviously, it was huge for us to have a chance to play together before the fall season starts. But also off the court, just being able to get closer with one another and build those connections was also really huge. So I think it was a very good trip for us because we were able to grow on and off the court together.
Brazil's an amazing country. I would highly recommend it to go visit Brazil. It's amazing. I think it's one of the most unknown countries in the world. I've been all over the world, first time to Brazil, and it's a great, great country.
Brent Wagner from the Lincoln Journal-Star. John, this offseason there were several transfers that went from one Big Ten team to another Big Ten team. I guess what's your reaction to that, and think of players that want to transfer but stay within the league?
That's, the portal's great, and it provides, I guess opportunities. I think there's some negatives to it as well. It bothers me when somebody transfers within the conference. I feel like you train those, you invest all that time and energy, and then they turn around and go to another team, and you're going to play against them potentially twice. So as an old school coach, that part bothers me, and I don't like it.
Lincoln Arneal, Huskers Illustrated. Merrit and Lexi, it's been about a month since we talked to you post-Brazil. What has the team been up to? Did you have to take some time to get away from each other? What's been some focus on the open gyms that you have had?
Actually, we didn't take time away from each other. As soon as we got back, we started lifting again, started having open gyms, and then we started camps, and now we're gearing up to start preseason. So we've been together all summer, but it's been great for this team because, like I said, we've been able to bond in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, we just started lifting as soon as we got back, started open gyms. Then camp was a long 16 days. We were lifting and doing open gym throughout camps as well. And we get a little break this weekend before we start next week, so that'll be nice. We'll be able to kind of get a refresher before we hit the ground running. So.
John, talking about a lot of those transfers are fifth year. You have no fifth-year players, no fourth-year players on your roster. How do you kind of try to counter the experience of the other Big Ten teams you play with your youthful talent that you have?
I tell our players two things. Okay, there's two things you remember in this whole press conference day. You can write these down. They're simple. One, volleyball doesn't know how old you are. So the game does not know how old you are. The second thing is, if a dog's going to bite, it's going to bite as a pup. So these guys need to be ready to come out and get after it. And I think they have the mindset. And from the youngest, I mean, get this, Maggie Mendelson's the youngest player on our team. And she's already been here a year. It's nuts. But we're going to be young and aggressive, and these guys are going to be fearless. And it's going to be fun to watch.
Jacob Badilla, Hill Varsity, mentioned that you don't have any seniors. You have 5 juniors, 2 captains here. What's the next step for the other juniors, Lindsay, Allie, and Kennedy, on and off the court as they transition into being upperclassmen for this program?
Well, I think Merrit said it great. I mean, she's leading a group of leaders, and it's a tremendous group, and I think almost anybody in our team could or will be a captain at some point. And those guys are going to be the older players in our team, and they have to show these guys, which they've been doing all summer and in Brazil, what it's going to take. And I think they've done a tremendous job, and they've been through the wars, and so they're the ones that, like I said, are going to have to show the way.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask this, I think. What was the best thing you ate in Brazil? Guessing that Lincoln, Nebraska, and major metropolitan areas of Brazil, pretty different places.
I don't remember. I tried a lot of different food. I remember I really liked, I don't know which place we were at. We went to a lot of restaurants, but I had squid for the first time, and I actually really liked it, and it was really good. But the food over there is amazing. And when we actually got to have like meals prepared for us from like just big restaurants in Brazil, I thought it was actually amazing. So I wish we had food like that over here, but that's okay.
Yeah, like Lexi said, we ate at a ton of different restaurants, and I don't think anyone complained about any of them that we were at. They were all so good. Just the food as a whole over there was amazing, and it was a cool opportunity, obviously, for volleyball and things like that, but also as a foodie, you get to explore and get outside, and so we were able to try a bunch of new things. I didn't try the squid, so I left that one up to Lexi, but the one thing I do remember is one of our staff members that was with us ate tongue one night for dinner. I didn't try that either. I left that up to her, but she said it was pretty good, so, but all of the food as a whole was really good, and it was a very cool experience.
Lexi, I know when you and the rest of the juniors came in, you were part of a #1 recruiting class. You bring in the #1 recruiting class. What's your kind of worded advice to that group about the pressure that maybe comes with that? Not just the #1 recruiting class, but being the #1 recruiting class at a program like Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of pressure, especially at this level and at a program like Nebraska. But I think just going into every game, and especially like their first season at Nebraska, just having no expectations. I think as a class, when I was a freshman, we kind of had that mentality that like it doesn't really matter what we did in high school anymore. Like we're at a whole nother stage of our lives and our volleyball careers, and like we haven't played a lot of these people. So just kind of reminding them that like it's a fresh start. Like you have to prove yourself again as a team, as a player, and just knowing that every single game you go into, like you got to prove that you belong and that you can compete at this level. And I think just reminding them that they deserve to be here, and like they weren't the #1 recruiting class for no reason. Like they deserve it, and they just got to go out there and show it.
All right, I think that will do it. We'll wrap things up with the Huskers. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys.
All right, Jen Flynn, Oldenburg, Ohio State. Just really want to open up and say thanks to the Big Ten for putting on another remarkable media day. In year 2, we're really setting the standard, and as a coaches group, we often talk about being the best conference and making sure that we're ahead of the game with volleyball. And when you have the support of the Big Ten and the network really setting the stage and having the attention to detail that they do, we're able to say that we're the best conference for volleyball in the nation. And I'm really excited for these two to be here today and have this experience. But I appreciate everybody in the room right now that's here covering volleyball. I say it's about time.
Hey, Coach. Daniel Gilman, 6 rotations. We could start it light. Was there a conversation about the outfits coming into today? Because obviously last year had so much buzz.
Yeah, I mean, we just read each other's minds all the time. That's why we're pretty good. No, we had nothing. They probably, did you coordinate?
No, not really.
No, yeah. We have simple colors. We're all right.
What's the shirt you're wearing then?
It's Brutus.
Okay.
I mean, do I just stick it out there?
Just probably take it off.
You gotta have red shoes, yeah. All right, yeah, all right.
Lincoln Arneal with Volleyball Mag. Emily and Rylee, we've talked a lot about culture today. I mean, you've lost a big class. How do you kind of carry on what they established, but also establish your own culture and your own direction and vision for the team this year?
Well, we started off, was it early June? We went to Greece and Italy, so we got to spend a few weeks before then and just spend time with the new team, get to know each other, and I think the trip has just brought us so close. I've been on a lot of teams before, and I've never been on a team that's bonded this fast before, so I'm really excited for this season.
I think the biggest part of our culture that is helping this team is the fact that everyone's so bought in to what we're reaching for. I think all of our goals, everyone wants it just the same.
Craig Combs from the Purdue Big Ten Student U. This is questions for Coach. In these past few years, you've quickly been able to establish a winning culture with your experienced team, but now that a lot of experienced former Buckeye players are scattered throughout the Big Ten Conference, how do you and your team continue to build on that success now that those foundational players have become opponents?
Yeah, opponents or not, I think it's the experience that these two have. Our spring season was really solid in terms of bringing new faces along. Our freshman class is really solid. And to Rylee's point, our international trip couldn't come at a better time. I mean, the actual additional days of practice, the competition we had overseas, especially in Italy, playing the U19 team and the Italian B team, I think that sets us up for success a little bit quicker this season than waiting until next week to see what we have. We know what we have, and we have a jump start of what we need to work on.
Michael McCleary, Wisconsin State Journal. Jen, just sort of sticking with the transfers a little bit. I mean, how difficult was that for you when you kind of saw that it was maybe inevitable that, there would be a lot of players leaving the program?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And I think part of it was I didn't expect 5 seniors to be starters. And I said it earlier, it's just kudos to them for working hard and putting themselves in a position to be starters. And then you go through the season understanding what recruits we had coming in and the solid class that we have in 2023. I didn't have room for everybody. And it was very difficult. It was difficult for us, difficult for the team, difficult for the individual players that have moved on. And at the end of the day, you can kind of dwell on that and worry about it and, cry all you want, but then you got to get back to work. And I'd say that this spring we got to work. And these two and our other 2 captains really set the tone. Sarah Sue Morbitzer and Sydney Taylor, they're setting the tone for what's next and really want to build on the foundation that we just built in these last 3 years. And we're excited for this new season and what it can bring. Even though we don't have that experience, we have Buckeyes that are really ready to fight and ready to compete and ready to have fun.
Obviously, it's a two-way street, but, previous coach had sort of opinions about some transfers winding up at Big Ten programs and, being opponents to the schools that they used to play at. I mean, do you have any opinions on that and some of your players landing?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, let's be honest, call it what it is. The COVID thing really changed the world, and in the scheme of athletics, it makes it a little bit difficult and a little bit weird, but end of the day, you have to go out and compete, regardless of who's on the other side of the net, and we're really going to focus on who's on our side of the net.
I was going to Coach P for a Big Ten Plus. This question's for Rylee. You had just said that you've never had a team bond so quickly. Can you expound on that? Because again, between grade school and high school and club and everything, what was it so special about this team?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess just our personalities just meshed so well. I think, we had, how many players did we have in spring?
13. I don't know. Not 13.
We did not have many in training in the spring, so I think we were just excited to see some new faces in the gym. So, I think we were just really quick to just meet everyone, and everyone just got along really well.
We had 11.
11.
Yep.
11. Which is not much to me.
Emily, you got a little bit of time on the left pin this spring because of those numbers too. What was your experience then? And are you going to make a case to get some more time at the left pin this fall?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely different than being on the right, but I'm just here to do whatever my team needs, and wherever coach decides to put me, I'll do my best, and the end goal is to win games, and if winning games comes with me being on the left pin, I think that's what we'll do.
I mean, you also set in 8th grade. Let's not.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Jen, Anna Morris, maybe an unusual recruitment. How did she come on your radar, and what kind of has it been like getting her back in the volleyball gym?
I think she's a unique case where she emailed probably quite a few schools and started putting video out of her training all spring, just getting back into volleyball shape. She was a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in New Jersey. So after watching her film and getting her on her phone and talking to her a little bit, I mean, she just fits our culture. She wants to work hard. She's eager to learn. She's great for our program, and I mean, she's a basketball player, so she can hit a slide, and that was something that in our gym we need to defend, we need to see, we need to set a little bit more. So, I think she just fits us really well, and her personality kind of fit right in. You guys loved her from the beginning, so we're excited to have her.
Bremen Kesey with Bucky's Fifth Quarter. This is for both Emily or Rylee. Obviously, a lot of talk about the freshman players and how it's been kind of an interesting time integrating them into the team and the travels and everything like that. Who have been some of the players who have kind of stood out the most to you in terms of their development or work ethic or just the way they fit into the team?
Mia and Grace Egan, Mia Tuman, they were with us in the spring, and I think within those spring months, they learned so much. Like from when Mia stepped on the court setting, after a couple weeks working with JFO, I think she grew tremendously. And I think Grace, she did just come back from an ACL tear, but even just being in the gym at Ohio State and learning from what we're teaching, I think she grew just from being on the sideline at practices.
Yeah, I think, and then to talk about Ella, Lauren, and Caitlin Hoffman, I think they've just fit so well into the culture, and they're super bought in, and they're just ready to work hard for us and see what we can do.
For Coach Daniel Gilman, 6 rotations. I really like to learn about how these schedules kind of come about. In this opening weekend, I think it's 5 losses in conference play between the 3 teams that you have lined up: NKU, Bowling Green, ETSU. Was that brought to you from Northern Kentucky? Did you guys meet together? Walk us through how that
It's pretty simple.
weekend comes together.
Nicole Fawcett is cousins with the head coach of NKU. And they came to us 2 years ago, and they were part of our tournament. So we decided, Liz reached out and said, do you want to come down here? Easy trip, good matches to start the season. So that was a no-brainer for us.
Thank you. Matt Brown with Extra Points. This is for Emily and Rylee. We have an opportunity here. We're in front of microphones, in front of cameras, and I'm just curious, given how important NIL has become throughout college athletics over the past year and a half, if you had an opportunity to work with any brand or do any kind of NIL engagement, it's your chance here to shoot your shot. Who would you want to be working with?
Okay, we just talked about this. So I think I would work with Amazon. Has everything. Could ship me anything for free. I think that would be a pretty good deal.
We had a team deal with Giant Eagle, and it was so great working with them and getting in the community. And I think Giant Eagle is just a great company to.
What is Giant Eagle?
Oh, Giant Eagle is a grocery store, kind of like Kroger. I don't know. I don't know anything outside of Ohio. But yeah, Giant Eagle, the grocery store. Yeah, they're just great to work with, and I think that would be a cool deal.
I'm curious. Have you had a chance to do anything more local? Or have most of the opportunities that have been available to the program so far been regional or national in scope?
What? I would say probably more local. We have Cohesion Foundation. We did a deal with them, and we went and played pickleball with, what was it, JFK?
Yes.
In honor of Alzheimer's and like learning and spreading awareness for Alzheimer's. So that was a really great opportunity locally that we could get our voices out in the community.
Thank you.
Jen, what's the excitement level around the Fury in Columbus too? And have there been any opportunities to work with them or talk with what's going on, what they're building as part of the volleyball community in Columbus?
Yeah, I've talked to the Fury quite a bit. Both the CEO of PVF, Dave, and then the coaching staff. It's an exciting time, I think, for the entire U.S. To have it in Columbus, I think it adds another layer because our players are going to be able to go see them. Those players are going to probably come and watch us. I think it just adds another level of play that people were able to watch. And so to have that in our own backyard, not only at Ohio State for the younger generation, but then now our players have a chance to go play pro, but in the same city as where they're playing, their collegiate years, I think that's really unique and pretty special.
Ethan Casales, Dignity Volleyball. For the players, what makes Mac Pedraza special, and what do you think it'll be like playing against her this season?
I mean, I think she's just able to make some smart plays. She also has a huge block, so that's big as a setter. She's a tall setter, so she can get a lot of touches on the block. It's going to be fun playing against her. I mean, we've known her. We know how she sets, so it's going to be a fun, competitive game.
Yeah, I think she just runs an offense really well and makes smart decisions, and I can't wait to hit against her and be on the other side of the net. I think it'll be a really competitive game, like Rylee said.
I'm just going to jump into piggyback off of that about the transition in the off season when you are integrating a new setter and how important that time on the court is together when all you've known is that one player who's orchestrating this offense.
Yeah, I think the international trip and this summer during open gyms, I think we've really been trying to connect with our setters as much as we can because we know we need all of the touches that we can get because season comes quick. It'll come in less than 3 weeks. I don't even know what day it is today. But yeah, so I think we've really been trying to get those connections with our setters as much as possible.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we have shared with our setters what our standard is here at Ohio State, and I think they've completely bought into it, and they're holding it not only for themselves but for others, and that's all we can ask for a setter.
Other questions in here? Okay. All right. Thank you guys, Ohio State.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Hi. We're excited to be here. Thanks for having us at this media day. My first one as a head coach, obviously. These girls are also new to media day, but not new to the Big Ten. but we're just really excited to be here. So thanks for all of the work of everyone that's put into this day, and for the media outlets that are here to just tell stories about our team. And, obviously a big one that, everyone's curious about today is, I'm new, and we're kind of a new program as under my leadership. And so I started with the team just earlier this year, and I've actually, because of the NCAA rules, they spent more time training on their own than actually training under me. So it's an exciting fall. We have much to learn and much to continue to build as a foundation, and both culturally and technique and systems. But I'm so excited about the group that we started with in the spring and adding in some newcomers. And but pumped to have these guys here. Hopefully you have some questions for them as well. And there you go.
Hey, Coach, welcome. Daniel Gilman, 6 Rotations. There's obviously been the obvious differences, right? NIL and the COVID differences, but what to you has stood out in terms of your time in Ann Arbor, 2011, 2014, 2015, and then now in terms of the sport of volleyball and then the way things have kind of been run between 2015 and 2023?
Yeah, and, I was at Michigan, and then I was at Northwestern, and so and then I took this time where I wasn't actually at a college. I was with the national team. And so there has been just some changes of just how the NCAA wants the NCAA sports to run. And NIL, as you mentioned, some massive different changes in how our recruiting timelines look. And so for me, there's some changes in that. And I'm getting up to speed with how Michigan tackles, for example, NIL and the support around that. One thing I love about that at Michigan is they really want our athletes to be really educated in those spaces. So even, for example, one of my first weeks, there was a tax education of just understanding how to be, now you're earning money, you're be able to have some earning behind your name and your image and your likeness. And so I'm encouraging our athletes to just get educated about that. We want to support our athletes in anything that they choose to go and do outside of the court. And then that's just the thing, that it's an academic institution first. And so I'm so proud that Michigan can support those things outside of me trying to be the expert in everything, or then I can focus on trying to be awesome for them on the court. I think some of the recruiting pieces that had changed since I was kind of removed from the NCAA, some of those pieces are always adapting. So I think as a coach and a recruiter, it's a massive thing to try to bring in great talent to your team. And so I have to be able to adapt quickly, whether it was new in 2023 to me, but that'll change next year or the year after. Anytime there's a rule change, something in that space is going to be adapting and being new. So one thing that I did there is made sure to hire in an amazing staff that are present. They're on it. They're great in these spaces that maybe I wasn't if I was with the Olympic movement. So that is what is one of my first tasks in that space, was to make sure I have a great staff.
Hi, Coach. Pete Ferry, Big Ten Plus. This is for Hannah and Allison. What's been the biggest learning point you've had so far with Coach coming in, and you two being around for a while? What's the biggest difference, biggest change? Newest thing, maybe a fun thing that's happening to get you ready for the season?
I think something that I really appreciated is when they came in, they really made it apparent that they wanted to get to know each and every individual on our team on a personal level, and that really only prospers. They're teaching us with volleyball as well, and it really grows our relationship overall.
From a volleyball perspective, we've all really enjoyed implementing her new system. One of the first practices, I think it might have been the first practice, she was here, and maybe one of our assistants as well. We worked on out-of-system setting, which is maybe not one of the main skills someone would think about when they think about volleyball, but one of my new favorite things to do is to hit out-of-system balls. So, because we're really great at setting out a system, and that's such a specific skill that against hitters in the Big Ten, you're going to be out of system a certain percentage of the time. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but just the small attention to detail that we're getting under the staff is really cool. It's going to make us a lot better.
what is the impact you've seen from Coach's Olympic experience, or how does that inspire you, or how is it different than maybe coaches in your past, in your volleyball career?
I think it's a really special thing that only we can speak to, walking into an office and looking to your left and seeing a gold medal on the wall. That's not something that I don't think anyone else, no one else in the Big Ten or in NCAA volleyball, other than one school now, can say. And I think that just speaks to how amazing she is, not only as a coach, but also as a person, where she's able to get to that stage and be successful at the highest level. It also, for anyone on the outside, but also in our program, it comes with an automatic respect where, like, you know, this girl knows what she's talking about, and you can tell when you're in practice that she knows what she's talking about, and it's really fun to learn from her.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite questions now is, who is your new coach? I'm like, oh, she's just the Olympic coach. You know, it's like really funny to say. I love it.
Matt Brown from Extra Points. This is primarily for Hannah and Allison, but I would be interested in hearing your response here too, Erin. When you go to these kind of events, there's a lot of background talk about the ascendancy of this sport and how both volleyball itself is changing and college athletics are changing. And it's one thing, I think, for people like us to write about administrative change or financial change, but we don't live those changes like you all do. And I'm curious, if you were made the czar of college sports or the czar of college women's volleyball, and you had the chance to change anything, whether that's with the recruiting calendar or the rules or NIL or players' employment or anything, I'm curious, because you've lived this, what are some things you would want to change?
I think, first of all, a change that was already made that is an amazing change is the recruiting age change. July 15th of junior year, sorry. That was huge because we were recruited as freshmen, 12, 13, 14 years old, and there's just a lot of life change that comes from even being a junior in high school. Like, how do you know what you want to do or where you want to be? And so that rule change, I love to see that recruits coming in and we're working with them, and it's just nice to know that they're 17, at least have a little bit more life experience on them than what we had. And I had another thought, but I lost it.
That was going to be my exact answer. People getting recruited when you're in 8th grade, you're a freshman of high school, you don't know what you want to do, you don't know what you're looking for, so I think it's really important that they push that back.
I also just remembered, I think it's really important, and once you're a student athlete, that your voice should be heard. I think it's really easy to get wrapped up in the crazy schedule of being a student athlete, in season, out of season. You're given a calendar and you have to follow it, and that's great. It's great to have structure, you need to learn, but you also need to remember that your voice does matter, and your opinion matters, your experience matters, and your mental health matters as well.
Those are awesome answers, and I echo everything that these women said. You know, the last few years, when we would have this conversation in our national team office quite a bit of just, you know, looking at our feeder is the NCAA. So to get to the pinnacle, and yes, we won a gold medal, but we'd like to continue winning gold medals at that level in the Olympics for our national teams. And so we'd look at like what kind of things in the feeder system, the NCAA, but then beyond that, and what is the hardest things to train? Where do we fall short sometimes? I think that would be, you know, that if I had my wand and our staff up in Anaheim had a wand, I think there would be certain elements of the game that we'd try to have more similar when they get to the professional and the international game. I think some easy ones, and not that these are easy, there's also pros and cons, but I would love to see more athletes staying in all the time, so not getting subbed out. I think, you know, for those that may not know, when you go to play pro, when you go to play internationally, the sub rules are so limited. So, you know, athletes stay on the court, opposites playing back row, outsides passing, playing back row. So you see less specialized people in that game. And so I would love to see that. That doesn't start at the NCAA level. Some of the best are doing that. But I would love to see more of that. That's going to help our game grow. It's also easier to understand from a fan perspective of like, okay, I'm seeing this girl on the court all of the time. There's less, I guess, specializations, less special teams. That's one. I think just looking to, we're seeing the fans, we're seeing teams play in bigger arenas, and I love that. That growth is amazing, and we need that. We need athletes to feel that stress before they get to an Olympic stress in that space. I would love to see us align with some of the equipment that's used, and I think we're seeing more of that, of just the type of flooring and the type of ball and just some stuff like that. I think would be awesome as those present some challenges, and I think that learning curve would be less steep if we were to wave that wand.
Bremen Kesey, Bucky's fifth quarter. You were just mentioning the growth of the sport of volleyball, and also that's been a big theme today, obviously, for the growth of women's volleyball and volleyball to Big Ten in general. Obviously, you're a new head coach in your first year, one of 5 out of 14 female coaches for the university across the Big Ten. I'm wondering if that means anything significant to you, especially in the way of having have a woman's perspective of kind of as the coach, and for the players, does it make a sort of difference to have specifically a woman as the head coach, kind of a way for you to sort of have a, I guess, role model sense or a path forward, when for a while it was very dominated by male coaches?
Yeah, I can start, and yeah, certainly ladies jump in. For me, I would never want to be hired for a job because I'm a female, or if, I hope Michigan didn't hire me because I'm a female and they want a female at their head coach. But I've worked really hard to build up a career to hopefully do a great job for Michigan, and I'd be really proud to do that. And you're right, we see tons of male counterparts, and I have so much respect for those that coach the game at a high level regardless. And internationally, that's even worse. I think at the Olympic Games of 12 teams, I think total there were 3 women of every staff on any bench. So it's across the world, and I think the USA is leading in women leaders in this sport, which is exciting. And we have still a pretty skewed amount. Not that that's bad or good, but we're growing. And what I'll tell you is just in the world, I think this is a place where the USA can lead, of just having women leaders in volleyball. And it does make me proud to be able to hopefully show our women on our team, if they do want to carve a path in coaching, that it can be done at whichever level that they want. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts.
I want to take it a step further and acknowledge how amazing it is that we do have a female leader as our head coach, but also to have Erin as our head coach, who so majestically and seamlessly shows us that you can do everything really well and still be very kind and caring but ambitious and hard-headed when you need to, and she just has this ability to encompass everything it means to be a leader, but also a strong woman who can give you an amazing hug when you're crying, and it's just everything I've ever looked for in a role model. And she inspires me wherever I go, that I can do this, because I know if Erin was in my position, she would do it 3 times better than me. I just need to do some crumb of what she would do, because she's just great.
She said that all. She killed that one.
All right, question for Hannah and Allison, and then I'll have a follow-up for Coach. But Hannah, and you could kind of be unfiltered if you want to on this. When the schedule comes out, are you looking now, you've been around the league long enough, are you looking to see when are we going to go do the Minnesota-Wisconsin trip, or when are we going to see Jess, or, are you looking at the schedule to kind of pick and choose maybe benefits or disadvantages of your schedule?
To be honest, no. When I look at the schedule, it's really what's next. What's the upcoming one? I think if you kind of look at it as a whole, it can be a little overwhelming, and no matter what, you have the next game. So my priority is the next game. It doesn't matter what the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th game is. I don't think that's something that I really prioritize.
I'm going to agree with Hannah there and say that I couldn't tell you when. October 29th is an important date because I think that's our game on Fox. But other than that, probably Michigan State or Ohio State, but we look to the first game that we're playing, that scouting report. What are we going to do? What is Michigan going to look like? Because that's what matters most. You can't look ahead.
Well, that's perfect. That'll ask the question towards Erin. When did you find out about the Fox notice, and what was the instant reaction and then telling the team, because it's a really big deal. It's on an NFL Sunday, and then they're going to put you guys on Fox.
Yeah, it's obviously the schedule is announced today, the TV schedule. So I think that's when the team found out, because we're traveling. So that announcement came out, I think, before I was able to talk with our group. And I think these girls might have even learned as they were interviewed about it. So, but it's important that we represent Michigan in a positive way. And I think our promotions crew is working their butts off to make sure we have people there. And if Michigan fans are listening to this, come and be in those stands. It's home at Michigan. And so we want to show the amazing atmosphere that is Michigan athletics there. And of course, our goal, like Hannah said, and Elle, is to put our best product out. So the volleyball side of that is their whole purpose is to try to compete and to try to do the best they can in the game. As a head coach, working with promotions and things leading up, these women will help get the fans and the students, and we can help on that. But when it comes to that match starts, we're focusing on trying to beat Ohio State in that. And the lights are on, the lights are off. It doesn't matter. We got to just focus on, can we win this point in front of us? But ahead of that, it's so fun, and they should be honored. And that's the very first volleyball match, I think, our SID was telling me that, on Fox for the Big Ten. And so we're pumped to honor that. And they chose such a great one, because what a great opponent in Ohio State, a wonderful rivalry between the schools, a program that's really well respected, and a coaching staff that I respect a lot. So I'm pumped to welcome them in, and maybe some Ohio State fans can come too, but we're going to fill that up with a lot of maize and blue.
Ethan Casale's Dignity Volleyball. For Hannah and Allison, what makes Jess Merzik special as a player, and what are you looking forward to about playing her this season?
I think one of the most special things about Jess is her ability to be a consistent 6-rotation player. I think she brings a great level of serve receive into the game that is special in the Big Ten when you have servers that are coming at you, and they will pick one person and they will try and tear them down. And she can be terminal when she needs to be. She's a good overall outside.
Yeah, she's just, like Allison said, I think she's really solid in all the fundamentals of volleyball. She's a great volleyball player. I've played with her since I was little, and I'm excited to see her across the net. It's going to be a little weird, but it'll be fun.
Coach, there's so many great other coaches at Michigan. Have the conversations happened? Have they been supporting you so far in this transition, from football to lacrosse? I personally have always had great relations with your media department and coaching staff. Have you had that same welcome?
Yeah, I'm fortunate, actually. There's a lot of head coaches or coaches at Michigan that are new, and then there's a lot. I would say it's about 50-50 from when I was an assistant at Michigan before. So super easy to have connected again with those that I knew. And some, like me, were assistants when I was there. Our wrestling coach is now the head coach, was an assistant when I was at Michigan. Same with our softball coach, was an assistant, and now is the head coach at Michigan as well. So the three of us were all assistants back in that era when I was there. And we actually went through a program that was developed by our administration called the Rising Talent Program to help us grow to be head coaches someday. And how cool that the three of us were in that program of 18 coaches, 18 assistants across all of the sports at Michigan, and then took that step to now be coaching for the Maize and Blue. And so that's super cool. And I think it speaks also to just Michigan of just, they were developing those staff members to go and be head coaches somewhere else, but ended up keeping three of us back here in Ann Arbor. So the support has been great. I sit across the hall from our gymnastics coach, and how great, men's gymnastics, and he's right now in China he's coaching for Team USA. So he has a lot of athletes that play on national teams, and so for him to speak my language when we have a Olympic qualifier this year and a World Championships and some other things that I have with Team USA, to speak that language too is awesome. But I've been really fortunate. We have even just the women, speaking of just women coaches or just women leaders, we have a chat group of the women head coaches at Michigan, and there are a lot. And it's awesome for us to be able to, just the other day as some of us are prepping for this new season, just to be able to talk about some ways that we provide information for our team and just share that. The sharing has been awesome, and I'm really grateful for that, because again, you're not stepping into that alone. You know, no one coaches a place like Michigan and does it by themselves. And so you have your staff around you, you have your support around you, but then you have your cohorts like that in the other coaches. And one of my first conversations with Jim Harbaugh was there was a pair of transfers. They were a volleyball player and a football player from a school that were dating, and they wanted to transfer to the same school. So he came up to me and wanted to know what I thought of the girl. He's like, you know, the guy's okay, but if the girl can help you, I'll bring him in, you know. And so I think that was great to know that he would take one for the team, you know, and help me bring this girl in. And she wasn't the level we needed, but actually she had already committed to another school. So, but that was like, you know, that just told me everything you need to know about Jim, of just someone that's like, he's through it for Michigan and, you know, wanted to support volleyball. And when he found out that there's a game, I think somebody told me, just kidding, it's a big deal, obviously a game being held in a football stadium. We have the biggest football stadium, so, you know, I was like, down the road, Jim, maybe we have a conversation about what that looks like to blow that attendance out of there. But, you know, had a nice conversation about some stuff like that. So really feel supported, and with 29 sports at Michigan, I'm sure there's more that I need to meet, but it's really, it's a wonderful place to be.
We're out of time with the Wolverines unless there's last minute questions. All right, thank you guys very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. Once again, thank you to the Big Ten Conference for putting on an unbelievable event. We've had a pretty cool day so far, last few hours. Be remiss to not start with thanking Indiana, Scott Dolson, Maddie White, Jeremy Gray, for their continued support of our program. We are so proud to be here on behalf of the volleyball program at IU. Feel like we're on our way in so many different respects. Had a great summer. Kids are healthy, very excited to get back in the gym. Wanted to take a second and thank Jay Wilkinson for another generous donation to IU. Jay and his wife have been so great to the volleyball program and now the football program. Again, just wanted to use this platform to say thank you to him and all he's done for us. Coming off a year we were very proud of. I think we've made some gains and certainly gotten to a point where we feel very good about the trajectory of the program. Very proud of my staff. Rachel, Brett, Hal, Kev, for all their hard work to get us to this point. Recruiting has gone very, very well. Preseason schedule looks challenging and daunting, certainly. Excited to play, go out to California, play UCLA and Washington, and Long Beach is a big trip. Finishing up in South Beach against Miami and some other very good programs is a lot, but I think we're at the point now as a program we want to play good teams and see if we can make some moves. So again, grateful, have a lot of gratitude to be here. Very, very excited about the year, incredibly proud of the team and the young women for all their hard work, and excited to get going. So with that, we'll take questions.
I can get us started, Coach. Does it feel like to you this season's a big step forward, where you've been kind of on that cusp of getting into the top half and having such a huge jump in wins from year to year and feeling like, hey, this is another season for us to try and make a statement in this conference, and even for the players too, I'll open it up.
Yeah, I can be quick with that. I think we have too much respect for the league to think that it just naturally keeps going and you go from X number of wins and double them and triple them. I think it's about improving. It's about us getting better and doing the work. Very proud of where we've come from. When I took the job, they had won one match in conference, and I feel like we've come a long way. But as we were saying at dinner and in the car, none of us have really celebrated being 8th at anything in our life. That's really not the Super Bowl. It's about trying to keep getting better and keep improving and having a ton of respect for the conference. So what do you think, Gray?
Yeah, I agree. I believe it's, like Coach said, there's never a moment in the conference where we're doubting anybody's abilities. It's always another opportunity, but it's always out of respect. It's it's a challenge every day. I mean, not just the games, it's the practices, it's the league. It's this conference is just daunting regardless of what the jersey says. And I think that, we want to take the momentum from last year, but just because we win something last year doesn't mean it's going to be the exact same this year. And I believe that the big wins that we did have last year that had a lot of influence, I think those teams are going to take us, they're going to be a little bit more prepared. They're going to take us a lot more seriously, and I think we should be prepared for that. And I think that this whole new season is going to be just a great opportunity to see how we can continue with the momentum from last year, but never take anything for granted.
Pete Ferry, Big Ten Plus. For the players, you mentioned, Coach, already the non-conference schedule. It's not an easy schedule by any means, but one of the challenging parts, it seems, is the travel. So how are the two of you going to adjust not only for the preparation of the games themselves, coast to coast, but the travel and still being, a student athlete?
It's definitely going to be a challenge, but I think we've had a lot of opportunities to overcome that. We went on our Europe trip last year, and we were playing matches the very next day. So it's adjusting to that time frame. It's going to Rutgers, adjusting to the travel there. Our schedule allows us to adapt to it, and so that being in the preseason will help us with the conference schedule as well.
I don't think I would ever be as successful as a student athlete with the travel and all of it without the help of the program. I mean, the Indiana University, I couldn't be more grateful for the resources and the people in the program. There is never a moment where we as a program don't have access to people who are willing to give their time, energy, and support into us. And I mean, it couldn't be a better setup to face these challenges coast to coast, time changes, time travel. Like, it feels like time travel at this point. I mean, it's like we're East Coast one day, West Coast the next, and then right back into the Midwest. It's a battle, but I could not ask for a better program to support us through each and every part of it.
Part of growing up too with the program, we're starting to, we'll charter a flight to Miami, and we've made some big strides in terms of how we're trying to support the student athletes. And again, it goes back to my opening statement about being grateful. Scott Dolson and company, they value it. They understand that the sport's a very important sport in the conference. They know the teams that we have to compete against, and the resources from where we play to how we travel to where we stay to how they get their fuel. Very few programs in the country have it as good, and I feel like that's a huge part when it comes to recruiting and developing talent, that we're at least at the situation now where we're doing things amongst the best in the country, and hopefully that the results will start to come with that.
Bremen Kesey with Bucky's fifth quarter. This is for Camryn. Obviously, to be named to the Big Ten preseason honors after a good solid season last year, getting honors then. Does that change, you think of maybe perception of the team of Indiana, or just your preparation at all, or how you kind of looking to continue to improve even while hitting kind of those kinds of milestones?
I really owe it all to my team. They've really helped me, going in with me in the gym, tossing me balls, all of that. And they're the ones who have really helped me with this. They're the ones who put the ball down. They're the one who give me the ball. I can't do my job if they can't do theirs. So I really owe it all to them.
Ethan Casales, Dignity Volleyball. Camryn, what advice do you have for younger setters on what it takes to succeed, especially in a conference like the Big Ten?
As we've kind of started camp season, I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of young setters, and it's normally about confidence. They lack a lot of confidence, and that's definitely something I lacked. And so as I've gotten older, that's something that has definitely grown, and I think that's definitely helped me with my play.
Coach, where do you feel like is the next step for Camryn after such a huge year for her and first team honors last year?
Yeah, I mean, Cam won't say it out loud, but when she finished up her club career, she didn't set and she didn't serve. She's become one of the premier servers in the country, and I think she's a very skilled setter. She'll also tell you that she's got a long way to go. There's a lot of stuff that she's still figuring out, and she's on the early chapters of a pretty good book. I think the sky's the limit. I think she's going to be a phenomenal collegiate player. I think she'll be a phenomenal pro. I think her habits are good. And what's most important, what warms my heart the most is how she nailed it. You can't do anything in this sport without good help. We've got phenomenal kids who handle the ball. We've got some big time arms. We've got kids who come early and stay late, and they care. And becoming a good setter has a lot to do with the people getting you the ball and the people taking care of the third touch. So she's grateful, great teammate, becoming a good leader. And I expect her to keep the trajectory going to where she'll end up helping us get to where we need to get to.
Coach, you had mentioned how last year you had a good season, wanted to build on that, and nobody dreams of finishing 8th, sort of in the conference. What then would you say are the expectations for the program this year, and kind of the building steps to keep moving forward?
Yeah, I think I've been asked that plenty. I think the hard part is that any of the teams that are in front of us are phenomenal. There's teams that are preseason ranked 10th that have been in Final Fours. I mean, Indiana as a program had a phenomenal year in 2010. They made a Sweet 16. It's been a while since we've been a team, I think, that the conference looks at or identifies and says, this is a problem. Like, this is a group that we're going to have to play great to beat. I think that's what we're focusing on. I think we're becoming older and more mature. We've got to become less high error from the end line and certainly offensively. And if we can keep doing those things, we become tougher and tougher to play against. And really and the girls will tell you, that's all we talk about. We'll be good enough or we won't, but we're going to work really hard. And I think if you were to poll my colleagues, they'd say that Indiana's a team that competes and they play hard every single night. And that's the first step, I think, to getting where we want to go. It's foolish to be like, hey, I'd love to be 5th or 7th or 9th. The bottom line is we'll be good enough or we won't be, but it's not going to be from lack of passion and lack of care and lack of work.
Coach, how did your experience at Penn State positively influence you, and what are your thoughts on the job Katie Schumacher-Colley has done so far?
Well, I'll start with the second part of that question. Katie and I are very close. I adore her. I think she's a phenomenal coach. I think we were both raised from the same cloth, so to speak. I think we had a mentor who modeled some of the things I hope or aspire to be. He worked incredibly hard. He cared a ton for his players. He was consistent. He had a lot of passion and a lot of fire. So obviously that's a big part of it. I was lucky enough to be part of 3 Final Fours on the men's side. So a lot of the stuff as a player, my career, I was, the best player on the team. I was cut. I was a starting attacker. I was a libero. All of the emotions that they go through, I've kind of felt. So I hope with my staff, with Kevin, with Rachel, we've all played at a pretty high level. So we understand what it feels like to be in their shoes. And I think that's what Penn State did for me. I mean, I wouldn't be here without that institution. I have a lot of love for it. It's always it's the hardest match for me during the year when I go back, because I consider it home in a lot of ways. But the best way to respect the place where you grew up is to go there and compete and win. And that's certainly my goal and will be my goal as long as I'm coaching.
For the players, you either get better or you get worse, it seems, a lot of times. And your program has continually taken the strides to get better. And I would feel a lot of that is contributed to the culture that Coach has created. Can the two of you as players speak to that culture that he's created to allow the improvements year after year?
Coach has kind of set out a layout for us. So you come in, you say late, like early, late, everything, you're there. And I think our team has finally adapted to that. Everybody's in early, everybody stays late. We work hard for each other, and growth isn't linear. So you might think that someone has gotten worse, but maybe they plateaued. Maybe they took a little bit of a dip, but they're probably working on something to help get back up on that up. So I think a lot of the times that might be what you see, but we might be working on something behind the curtain.
I think there's been a lot of emphasis on building a culture and making something of our program that it wasn't before, but I don't think that it was something that was forced. I think it was something that was expected. It was something that was required, and it was not required in a sense that you have to do it or you're kicked out. It was something that when Coach is recruiting, obviously he's doing his best in his job. And there's no doubt in my mind that the people that are coming in are just of that nature. That nature isn't something, hey, you need to do this. It's already there. It's in the DNA. It's the fight. It's the born this way kind of edge in a player that has been cultivating what we want our program to be. It's not something that, hey, let's be grateful, let's be whatever. It's natural. Our players in our program are just kind they're the kind to the core. It's the kind of people that you want to be around, especially off the court, if not off the court, more than on the court. It's the culture of we want to stay in. It's intrinsic to be in early, to be staying late. It's not the kind of, oh, I'm staying late just because I have to. It's because I want to, and we have something to do. We have plans for the season, and this is the requirement for us to get there and be where we want to be to continue moving this program forward.
I was told pretty early you're a good coach if you got good players. And, I texted them this summer. They were in at camps, they were working their workout, they're doing what they need to do. And I just told them, I'm so proud of what you guys are building. And that was the first time since I've been at IU that I had that sentence. It was about what they are doing. It's the locker room, it's the players, we're guiding the ship now. It's not about, hey, this is how it works. So what I'm so proud of about IU is we've been able, and I hope they'd agree, to try to eliminate any distraction and give them everything they need to be successful, and then they just go to work. And that's what makes it fun to be around, is you've got a group of kids who, they care deeply, they love the school, they care about each other, and they want to win for each other. And I think that's going back to my Penn State days and my Coach Rose days. It's always about the locker room, and the locker room has finally figured it out. And I think that's what's going to make this season fun.
More question for Coach about leading the Big Ten last year in aces per set, and how much of that is a focus for you, and finding those ways to get points and the kind of work that went into leading the conference in that category and the importance of it.
Yeah, we've recruited players based on that skill. I think, as you guys see, we're in the air a lot. We're very, very, at times we're very high risk reward from the end line. But my philosophy is that I want to set the tone. I want it to be kind of the characteristic or the trait of our program is to be very aggressive from the end line. I think also we're not as good as some of the teams that we're playing, so we have to be a little bit more high error, high risk from the end line. And there's times where when we get it rolling, we are frightening. What's happening now, though, is that those players that are pretty high error are becoming more skilled, more mature, more inside their game. And I would expect or hope that we will be one of the best serving teams in the Big Ten, if not the country. It's something we talk about, we train about. It's going to be a focus. And, errors happen. It's, it's part of the game, but aces are also things that happen too. So if we toss it and bang it and see what happens, I'm okay with that half the time. So.
What is that like for the two of you when you have that kind of focus from your coach?
I think it's really nice to have, he has a lot of confidence in the 3 or 4 of us who do that top spin serve. And so it's just nice to know that our teammates and our coaches have our back when we're trying to do something a little more aggressive and might make a mistake.
I think it goes back to the culture that we were building. I mean, you think of the moments where we have a top spinner at the back and we just need to rip one, and they're no longer are the days of, oh, I hope she makes it in. It's, I hope she doesn't hurt someone. I mean, we are just so supportive of each other, and I mean, we've gotten to the point with our program where it's we only support each other. Your success is my success. Your hard work is our hard work, and it just feeds. And I think the reciprocated energy of just that unconditional support of somebody getting back there into the end line and just letting it rip. I mean, there's nothing better than the feeling of, whether you're serving or it's your teammate serving and getting the ace or whatever it is, it's just unmatched. And I think that support is not only just from my teammates, from the coaches and the whole program as well. It's just, you wouldn't want to be in that spot with any other kind of support.
Camryn, Lincoln Arneal with the volleyballmag.com. You're one of the few people that are back this year from last year. What's been the experience like this year, and what does it mean to have another event just about volleyball, just about promoting the sport?
It's very, very cool, especially growing up. I had an older sister who played volleyball, and her experiences were very, very different. So this is something that I get to share with a lot of different people. So it's just something unique that I'm glad I had the opportunity to be a part of.
Stephen, we talked earlier this spring. Health was a kind of a concern. You're hobble a little bit. How are you feeling now as you're about to start fall practice and getting everyone back to hopefully full health?
Yeah, it's on my mind a lot. I think we've got some talent. I think we've got more depth than I've ever had as a head coach. So I'm excited about that. I think I'm looking at the preseason differently how we're going to train and how we're going to go about that. I've spent a lot of time with my staff trying to map out what we want to do, a huge focus on recovery. Now that the team's a little bit older, I think some of the systems, some of the things that I want to do, I think we've got a good feel for. So now it's about trying to be as healthy as possible for the opener. And and I think we're almost there. I think a lot of the girls stayed the whole summer. A lot of them are working really hard in the weight room. I wouldn't say we're all the way there yet, but we're getting much closer to what I think you need to be really relevant in the conference. And they've taken care of themselves. I think the group's in pretty good health, and we're excited to get going on Tuesday morning.
Any more questions for the Hoosiers? All right. Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you guys.
Good luck.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.